What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a bit of a different video this week. If you're a constant viewer of the channel, you'll know we didn't do a Punters Playbook this week. I mean, I spoke about it in the weeks previous. I said, look, probably not going to do Punters Playbook because finals footy is a beast in and of itself. But we are back with a bit of a different video this week. A long-awaited video for me, anyway. Now, if you're an OG of the channel, if you're an OG Fight Field Insights fan and you've been around since the day ones, you'll know earlier on in the season we did a video ranking NRL halves pairings. All right, it was a halves pairings tier list. And that was back. Put something on screen really quick. Let the people know just how long ago this was. All right. So we're back, and we're going to be redoing that today. We're going to be going back through, looking at the old tier list, and then redoing it. I don't know. We're going to structure it somehow. I might do the new list, and then we'll cross-compare them at the end of the video to see, who I thought was shit at the start of the year. Who's grown? Who's progressed? Who stayed relatively the same? And who impressed me? Who let me down? I don't know. We're going to do all of that. But this is the intro-y part of the video, where I get where I get some stuff off my chest, and we talk a little bit of YouTube, Fighting Field Insights propaganda. So yeah, I mean, in the recentest news, since we haven't talked on a Wednesday, it's been months since I haven't done a Wednesday video. All right, I don't think I've missed a Wednesday video to date, but yeah, we're doing a live stream. I said on Monday's episode around recap, we're going to be live streaming the Penrith Panthers game against the Wars and the Roosters Sharks game. So come along. It's Saturday night. Obviously, the game starts at 4. We're going to probably be starting around 3:45, something like that. Get in there, 15 minutes, settle in. Get the nervous jitters out of the way. So yeah, if you've got time and you're free, and I know it's a Saturday night, and a lot of people are out partying and they're watching their own kind of rugby league. But if you've got time out of your busy life, come and watch the stream. Come and tune in. There's going to be a little Q&A segment. Might even do a hotline. Might even do a call hotline. Who knows? So that's the big news. That's really the only news. We're live streaming Saturday night, and you better be there. I don't think I have anything else to say. All right. So yeah, let's get into this NRL halves pairing tier list, end of season 2025. Come on. Let's do it. Okay, we're over here at the sacred Fighting Field Insights tier list, okay? And before we start putting these sick puppies into their designated tiers, all right, there's a few things I've got to go through. Over here at Fighting Field Insights, there is a sacred criteria that we always follow. All right, without remorse. For whatever reason, you have to try and for whatever reason, we try and ignore said criteria. All right, for bias reasons, I like this bloke, so he's going to go and 80. No, okay, there's a criteria and it needs to be followed. Okay, obviously, start of the video, I said if you're an OG, you would have seen the original 2025 halves pairing tier list. Okay, mouthful. I'm going to try and shorten that. Abbreviation, maybe try and abbreviate 2025 halves pairing tier list. That's besides the point. All right. If you're an OG, you would know. You would have watched the original criteria for that was current success. Obviously, that was filmed like round 4, round 5. So they'd only played like 4 or 5 games. Current success, so how they were going. Projected success, so like where I seen them going, and then just individual player brilliance. So you got like Nathan and Blaze as an example. You got Nathan and Blaze Lange. Nathan, 4-time premiership winning halfback. Blaze Lange just left Parramatta, playing his first season at Penrith, and probably didn't start playing number 6 till like round 12, whatever. Okay, so that was the original criteria. Obviously, we've got to make some changes because we've finished round 27. We're watching finals footy. So you can't really do a projected success, although I am going to do something like that. All right. So here it is. pop, wherever I plan on putting it, pop that new criteria list on screen. Here is the new criteria. Success over the whole season. All right. So just general success. It's a makeup of everything. It's a makeup of the highs. It's a makeup of the lows. It's a bit of everything jammed into one. It's just their success, how they went. All right. Obviously, individual player. You can't just put Nathan and Blaze in S tier because Nathan's bit of technical difficulty. You can't just put Nathan and Blaze in S tier because Nathan's a full-time winning premiership halfback. Whatever. You can't do that. They have to lean on each other a little bit. They got to level with each other. So, obviously, individual player brilliance, success over the whole year. Okay, I am going to do a little bit of projected success, so you know where I see these sort of players ending up in 2026. That's not going to be a heavy scoring criteria. It's just going to be there. It's just going to be something I comment on, okay? And then this isn't a part of the scoring criteria as much per se, okay? It's more or less a bit of a guideline. It's to help you guys out understand what's going on, all right? So if I can use Rabbitohs, probably perfect example. They've had like 15 different halves pairing over 2025. So who the freaking hell do you put in here? Who are the two that end up getting put into a tier list? So I'm going to be using two options, all right? Whichever I see fit. A, the best version of the halves pairing tier list. Who had the best success? Who was winning the most games in the halves? Who just was looking the best? Or who you finished the season with? So whoever finished the season, Mitch Moses and Joash Papali. Obviously, they've had a lot of different halves pairings in there, but Mitch Moses, Joash Papali. So that's a bit of a criteria. It's up there. Have a look at it. Wherever I put it, here or there. Okay. Have a look at it. It's going to be there or it's going to be on screen, the whole video. In case you're sitting there and you're thinking, what was the criteria again? It's on screen. So, without any further ado, let's get into it. Let's kick off with the Tigers. Jerome Luai, Adam Doueihi. Now, I think this Tigers halves pairing was their best. Okay, we only got to see it for like 3 or 4 games, but this was the Tigers' first time they've won 3 in a row since like 2017, and they did it with this halves pairing. Whenever they played, it made me interested to watch a Tigers game because Adam Doueihi actually looked really, really good in number 7. All right, he was hot, he was firing. Okay, real good number 7, paired up well with Jerome Luai. Hence why they're the ones getting ranked, and I'm putting them in a B. Hear me out before I get the Tigers haters coming in here and being like, what the freaking hell, man? Why aren't these guys in the E tier, man? Come on, man. Tigers suck, man. Okay, I think they complemented each other really well. When you want to look back to the criteria, okay, it's a lean on each other thing. Lean on me when you're not strong. Okay, so when Luai wasn't strong, Adam Doueihi was there and they leaned on each other. They worked well together. It was 6 and 7 chemistry. I like this halves pairing, okay? Proof's in the pudding. Obviously, it's hard to rank whole season success, but if you look at the success of just these two together, what they did, okay? Winning a few games in a row. And just whenever they played, they had something about them. There's a little bit of something, a bit of sting about them whenever they were on the field together. So, for that reason, Luai, Doueihi, B tier. It makes sense to me, all right? I really wish we got to see a little bit more time with these two playing together. But obviously, Doueihi copped a knee to the head. He copped a Tamalolo knee to the head. Pretty brutal stuff. Didn't get to see him for the rest of the season. But like if you look at the other pairings here for the Tigers, you had the Galvin and the Luai, that might be sitting D tier. Like they suck. Oh, at the start of the year they were pretty hot, but they suck. Okay, then you had the Heath Mason and the Luai, and that was just poo as well. But and then like Latu Fainu, that was all right. And don't get me wrong, I think they won a few games with Latu and Cleary. But this was the pairing. I think this was the pairing. I believe this is the pairing they beat the Bulldogs with. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? Okay, but this was good. This was good. True, honest rugby league 6 and 7, and I think they deserve a B tier no matter what you say. Up next, Broncos. I'm going into. I'm going to go A tier with Ezra and Reynolds. Obviously, in the first video, it was Adam. It was Reno and Ben Hunt in the S tier. I just had to quickly check that. It was Adam and it was Ben Hunt, and they were in the S tier because at the time they were actually playing really good footy. You know, they were stacking 50 on the Roosters and so on and so forth. But the Broncos had a very up and down year, and a lot of them ups and downs came with Ben Hunt playing in the halves with Adam. Okay, so if you look at the projected success, you know, success, you follow the criteria. Soon as Ezra came back, things just looked like they were clicking. Things looked like they were starting to make sense. Ezra was doing his thing. He was pumping the boys up, and they were winning games, and they were climbing the ladder, and they were in the top 8, so on, so forth. Both these kids lean on each other really well. Good 6, good 7. And then obviously both of them get injured hammies all across the board. Now, if I were to put Ben Hunt and Billy Walters in here, because that's who's currently playing, you know, this is where it came into the who they ended the season with or who they play the best with. Now, Billy Walters, Ben Hunt, don't get me wrong, I believe they're playing really well, but I think they just complement Reece Walsh really well. I don't think they, in and of themselves, play like outstanding halves footy. Whereas Reno and Ezra Mann were, in my opinion. And that doesn't count for much. All right, my unprofessional opinion. I just liked what Reno and Mann were doing more than Billy and Ben. So yeah, A tier for these boys. Okay, it could have been an S tier, but obviously they had that really poo sort of downer middle of the season. Well, I suppose that was an answer, but there was games there where they lost, where they should have. So yeah, A tier for these boys. This is probably the biggest come behind of the whole tier list, and it's Izzy Katoa and it's Cody Nikorima and it's them in the S tier. All right, that's my speaker turning off. From the first video, way back at the start of the year, I put these two boys in the E tier. The E tier. Right down the bottom here, ladies and gentlemen, the purple. I put them in the E tier. Okay? Because obviously I wasn't on that Izzy Katoa train. And I didn't just see that Cody Nikorima guy for what he was. But over the season, these two have been two of the most outstanding halves pairing in the league. Like, there was talks of if Nathan got injured, Katoa was playing Origin. And Cody Nikorima was just that guy. He was just that guy. Like, just, we're talking knife and fork. We're talking peas and carrots, peas and corn. We're talking rain. We're talking a body of water collecting the rain. These two just paired really well together, all right? And just projected success over the whole season. They both fucking played really well, all right? There was like 9 games, 8, 7, I don't know. There was a lot of games where the Dolphins just absolutely pumped and humped teams, and a lot of it had to do with them too, okay? So my apologies for having these two in the E tier at the start of the year in the first video, all right? The criteria puts them in S tier. Their performance puts them in S tier. I put them in S tier. They're in S tier halves pairing tier list. Halves pairing. All right, they just make sense together, mate. Yeah, mate. Up next, Mitchell Moses, Joash Papali. Now, these two probably only played a few games together towards the back end of the season. It was really hard to sort of put a claim in for a Parramatta halves pairing because Mitch missed a bit bit of time at the start of the season, and Parramatta were playing really bad. And then, Footy Dean would come back and Footy Dean would play really well. But then he wouldn't, and they'd lose games. And Dylan Brown was like playing 7 or whatever at the start of the year. And it was just poo. But like the only time this season where I've really looked at Parramatta and gone, shit, man, they're going to be like playing finals footy next year is when Joe Papali and Mitch Moses were playing in the halves. And, they were beating big teams, and they beat the Broncos, and although Footy Dean might have been a part of that, I can't remember. But they beat a lot of teams. I mean, they just stacked 60 on the Knights. I know it's the Knights, but they stacked 60 on them. This halves pairing to me makes sense. All right, B tier, not too great, but not the worst. It's actually quite good being in the B tier. There's going to be a lot worse teams ending up in this, C, D, E tier. But I think these two boys had a really great end to the season. They rounded it out really well. Makes sense to put them in B. I don't have too much to say on the Parramatta front. But I just think, they probably don't complement each other as well as the other 3 teams that are on the board, the tier so far. Okay? Seems like a little bit of the Mitch Moses show, and Joe Asher should have just, he's just there. Because he hasn't had many moments this year of individual brilliance. So Mitch, Joe Papali, 6 and 7, B tier, maybe a little bit high. I don't know. I'm leaving them there. They left a mark on me at the end of the season. Played good footy. Blaze, Nathan. I promise there's going to be some teams going in the lower tiers, but Blaze and Nathan, okay, they could make S tier. They very well could. They could be an S tier team. Halves pairing. But the reason I got them at A, obviously, they had a real slumper start of the season. Oh, actually, you know what? No. See, right there, I've just tried to stray away from the criteria. But if we're talking criteria, ladies and gentlemen, okay, when Blaze came in and he was playing with Nath, they started winning games. Obviously, Blaze had a few games there with Jack Cole, rah, rah, rah. We're talking Nathan. We're talking Blaze. We're talking how they played together. Not how Blaze played by himself. Not how Nathan played by himself. We're talking these two together. All right. Arguably, Blaze Talungi's edge for Penrith has been the better edge this year. Him, Jenkins, Casey McLean, Luke Garner sometimes. That edge has been the better edge this year. Some would argue. Okay. S tier seems I'm pretty confident putting him in S tier. Obviously, the only reason I was going to put him in A tier is because of the poo start to the season for Penrith, but that's a Penrith thing. And that's a Jack Cole thing, and that's a Nathan being injured thing, and it's not a Nathan and it's not a Blaze thing. So I think they deserve an A tier. They're in finals. They won from last place. They won however many games from last place. They got themselves into the A. They got themselves to the top 4. Okay? So, I mean, this game for these two, it makes sense. For these two, it makes sense to put them here in S tier with Cody and Katoa. So, yeah. I haven't talked any projected success. We might do that at the end of the video. I might talk projected success about these studs at the end of the video. This is another one, man. Look, I don't want to just be jamming these guys into S tier, but you kind of gotta, right? Ethan Strange, Jamal Fogarty. It's self-explanatory. I don't want to do a deep dive into the weeds as to why these two are in the S tier. Okay, if you've been watching NRL all year, you'll know Ethan Strange, he's got a claim of being 5'8" of the year. Jamal Fogarty has played outstanding. Like, these two have just been ridiculously good. Okay? Minor premiers. Good chance they play a grand final. Who knows? It's a self-explanatory S tier. Self-explanatory S tier, guys. Self-explanatory. Manly. Manly's going in the D tier, guys. Manly's going in the D tier. Not just because I think we need to start getting some teams lower on the list, but Manly's going D tier because these two have been their halves pairing all year, and they've had a notoriously shocking year. And DCE hasn't been the best, and Luke Brooks hasn't been the best. And don't get me wrong, they had a good end to the season, where they strung like 3 wins together. But that doesn't excuse the fact that they got pooped on all year. All right. Just a lot of poo games that they should have won, etc. Okay. D tier for the Manly boys. Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember. I feel like Manly were pretty high up on the original tier list. Man, they were in the A tier at the start of the year. They're in the A tier, so a lot's changed. But anyway, first D tier. I just think, yeah, they lost a lot of games they shouldn't have. Yeah, everything going on with DCE leaving the club. Yeah, D tier seems pretty. It seems pretty self-explanatory, doesn't it? I wouldn't go as far to put them in E tier because they haven't had an absolute Joe Cocker, all right? But yeah, like they've won a few games and they won a few big ones, and they made 11th place, which is reasonable. 2 points off the 8, so D tier. I just think because from a consistency standpoint, they were pretty average. Melbourne Storm, Cameron Munster, Jerome Hughes. There's an argument to put them in S tier, but there's also an argument to put them in A tier. They haven't had the worst year, but Melbourne Storm standards, hasn't been the best year. Hasn't been shock me year for Melbourne Storm. A lot of injuries, mainly Jerome Hughes, shoulder, recently wrist. There's been a lot of Tyrone Wishart games, bit of Joe Pezzett. Melbourne haven't had the best Melbourne year. So for that, they're getting an A tier. Still really good. Still really good. All right. Melbourne standard, still really good. Well, Fighting Field Insight standard, really good. Melbourne standard might be looking at an S tier. I don't know. But yeah, it just wasn't wowing me. Like last year, they wowed me. The start of the year, they wowed me. They were in the S tier at the start of the year. The only two teams that were in the S tier in the original video was Melbourne Storm and the Broncos. And just so happens to be they've both dropped a spot and they're both in A tier. So, yeah. Just Melbourne Storm standard. Just I didn't see them in an S. Very A. Giving off A's. Now we're at a crossroads because we're at the Warriors, right? And I've got Tanner Boyd in here. And I'm gonna go, look, A tier. A tier for Luke Metcalf and Chanel Harris-Tavita. These two together. These two, when playing together, were in the top 4, were winning really good games. Luke Metcalf was just a freak all year long. They leaned on each other really well, okay? Yeah. These two together just made sense. These two together just made a lot of sense. So, yeah. Lukey got injured. Harris-Tavita, obviously still there kicking goals. Lukey got injured. If Luke didn't get injured, I see him still being in the top 4. I see him having a way better chance at finals. And yeah, it's a shame. It is what it is. But yeah, Tanner Boyd now. I'm gonna put Tanner Boyd on here, or do I? No, I will leave Tanner off. I was gonna do like a little bit of gag where I was gonna put Tanner Boyd in somewhere where I think he's left the club, but I'm not doing it with any other teams, and there's a lot of teams where I should be doing it. So let's just say, yeah, the best pairing for the year for the Warriors was Lukey Met and Chanel Harris-Tavita. And when they were playing together, they were playing really well. So it's an A tier for them. Cowboys, Jake Clifford, Tommy Dearden. Okay. C tier wasn't an outstanding year. I think the reason why they're hitting C's is just because Tom Dearden had a really good year. And he's coming into form as a proper number 7. He's always been that like a number 6 or, etc. But he's coming into form as a proper number 7. Won a lot of games, won a lot of good games, just played a lot of good footy. I like Tom Dearden. And, the performance he put on State of Origin, obviously Jake Clifford's not there playing with him. So this is just a bit of like an example of why Tom Dearden's had a good year. Jake Clifford's had a good year as well. Obviously, it's been choppy and changey for the Cowboys, but I think their biggest wins, their better wins, have been with this half pairing. So yeah, I'm not gonna dwell too long on the Cowboys, but yeah, C tier for them. C tier. Knights. Knights. We got the Knights in here with Fletcher Sharp and Jack Cogger. I think that's been their best half pairing of the year. Like they've had plenty to pick from, but this is when they were winning games. Like they beat Penrith with this half pairing, and they beat South Sydney with this half pairing. Like they beat a lot of notable teams. They beat Manly, I think, with this half pairing. Fletcher Sharp and Jack Cogger have just been the two better halves this year for Newcastle. Obviously, if it was a Jake Arthur or a Jackson Hastings might have played a few games. Nothing notable. These two definitely played the best footy for the Knights. D tier, because the Knights have just had a shocking year. If Fletcher Sharp wasn't in this halves pairing, they'd be making the E tier. But yeah, another team I just don't have much to say on. The Roosters. The Roosters are going to go A tier. Now, once again, there might be an argument to put them in S tier. Hugo Savala, Sam Walker. Since Sam Walker's come back, like the Roosters have skyrocketed. They've played outstanding. Roosters had a really choppy start to the year, but obviously that wasn't Sam Walker and that wasn't Hugo. I think on the original tier list, the Roosters were right down in D with Chad Townsend and Sandon Smith. But this is Hugo, and this is Hugo, and this is Sam. This is Hugo, and this is Sam we're talking about, right? So they're making A tiers because they're playing finals, probably going to beat the Sharks, right? And I just don't think they're S tier worthy. They haven't had like the craziest run. Like they lost a lot of games they probably shouldn't have, and yeah, A tier is pretty self-explanatory, I think, for the Roosters here. Titans are a good D tier. Yeah, Titans are a good D tier. Oh, Foz and Jaden Campbell. Obviously, I'm maybe a little bit biased, but I think a bit of the better footy played by the Titans was played with AJ Brimson. But yeah, I just wanted to put Foz and Jaden Campbell in here because that's just how they finished out the year. Finished out the year with a win. D tier is pretty self-explanatory for them, man. I think D tier is a great spot for them. Yeah, neither of them played outstanding. Jaden Campbell had moments of brilliance throughout the year. Kieran Foran, obviously, a bit past the use by date. Yeah, still a great player, but D tier. D tiers, I don't have much of an explanation for putting them in the D tier, but it's like I don't think they deserve an E tier because they are two really high level halves. So yeah, D tier's reasonable. D tier's, that's a nice spot. This one's gonna hurt, guys. Start of the year, the first video, I put the South in A tier, and call it bias, call it what you want, all right. But I think an A tier spot for them was reasonable. Okay, I think it was really reasonable because Cody and Jamie Humphries had won like 5 in a row or something, and they'd beaten Penrith, and they were playing really well, and they were hot. And I thought it was going to be our year. Even though we had all these injuries, I thought Cody Walker and Jamie Humphries were going to take us to the promised land. But that wasn't the case, and then we ended up going through like 12 different halves pairings. And I've just landed on putting Ashton Ward and Jamie Humphries in here. Like, I think it'd be a little bit silly to go, Cody Walker and Jamie Humphries, because it was our best halves pairing, which it was, but there was no footy played by them too. There was no footy played. Okay? Very minimal footy played. So, Ashton Ward, Jamie Humphries. Rabbitohs are an A tier at the start of the year, guys. I'm biased, but I'm also reasonable. And you can't go putting the Souths in a D tier or a C tier. Or maybe you can. Maybe I'm being too hard. Here. Who got E tier at the start of the year, man? Maybe I'm being too hard on my club. No, you know what? Look, when Ashton Ward came in and started playing, we won 3 games in a row. Be it, against, some pretty bad competition, we were still winning 8 in a row. So I'm putting us in at D tier. At this rate, we may not even get an E tier. All right. I'm putting us in here. I'm putting us in here at bloody D because we could have played better. And I mean, injuries. It's injuries. It's injuries. It's injuries. There's nothing we can do about it. If Cody and Humphries played a whole season, might be looking at a C, might be looking at a B. But it was Ashton Ward, it was Jamie Humphries, and as good as them two played together, it's nothing compared to, even like a Foz and a Jaden Campbell. So, yeah. D tier for us. D tier walking the line with an E tier. Up next, Sharkies. Sharkies are a strong B team. Lost a lot of games they shouldn't have lost. Average, just average across the board. I might even drop the Parramatta here down to C. Yeah, I like Parramatta down at C. Just looking at the level here, the Sharks and Tigers. Parramatta down at C. Sorry, Parramatta fans. I've had like a mid-video change of heart. But yeah, Sharkies, B tier, lost a lot of games they shouldn't have lost. Although they're still in the top 5. There is a lot to like about the Braden Trindles and the Nico Hines from this season. A lot to like. All right, good footy. Entertaining. So a lot to like, but yeah. B tier's fair, I reckon. B tier's a fair spot for the Sharkies. And then Kyle Flanagan. Look, I'm putting the Dragons. I'm putting Kyle Flanagan, and King Tonga should be here. I'm putting them in a D tier. They lost a lot of games. Don't get me wrong. They won a few games. Like they won. They beat Canberra and so on and so forth. They beat Melbourne at the start of the year, and they had a lot of good wins, a lot of good stock wins. But yeah, that was one part of the Dragons game that just never seemed to click. Was their halves. And this isn't a dig at Kyle Flanagan. I actually don't mind Kyle Flanagan in the halves. It just, whatever they did just didn't seem right. I said that at the first video. I'm saying it again. Yeah, Kyle Flanagan, Dragons, E tier. And then Tanner Boyd's just chilling out down here because we were going to put him somewhere. But yeah. Put him, Tanner Boyd, probably in the C tier. Tanner Boyd and Chanel Harris-Tavita probably in the C tier. But we're not going to put him in because, he's in here now. He's in here now. He's in the C tier now. That's it, guys. That is the end of year 2025 end of year halves pairing tier list. Quick skim and scan through it. The S tier, a lot more going on. Dolphins, big surprise, come right from the E tier. Started from the bottom, now we're here type shit. Penrith, pretty self-explanatory. Raiders, really self-explanatory. Raiders also have a big comeback. They started in C tier. Not too good, not too shit. But, they wowed me. A tier, Broncos, Storm, Warriors, Roosters. Some pretty just, same old shady figures. They've got A tier all about them. Tigers, Sharkies. Two teams that I was impressed by when they played in the halves. Just good halves pairing, these four players. Good halves pairing. They complemented each other well. Made sense. C tier, Cowboys, if they probably had a better season, they probably would have been a bit higher. Parramatta, I had them in B tier, but the more I thought about it, didn't play that many games together. If I had more games of them playing together to go off of, obviously they would have been higher on the list. If Tanner Boyd and Chanel Harris-Tavita are in C tier, I didn't mean to do that. D tier, Manly, that just makes sense. Knights, makes sense. Titans just make sense as well. There's an argument to put the Knights in E tier, even though they won a few games. There's a Knights. If the Dragons go in E tier, the Knights go in E tier as well. And then that probably means that South Sydney should be E tier as well. So there we go. We've polished her up. We've made it a little bit, we made it a little bit more reasonable, a little bit more nice. All the Dragons fans out there were probably screaming at their screens saying, "Come on, man. What are we talking about, man? Gonna put Newcastle Knights in D and then put us in E." This is a little bit more of a fair list. All right, I'm a South Sydney fan through and through, but if your team didn't play, it's the same as the Parramatta thing. If there was more games won by Ashton Ward and Jamie Humphries, they might be higher, but they won 3 games together. You can't just say, "Oh, well, championship caliber out of these, don't, mate." That's it. That's it for the tier list. Yeah, projected success going forward. I see the Dolphins having a lot of success next year. I see Penrith probably having even more success next year. Obviously, Jamal Fogarty's heading to the Manly Sea Eagles. Don't know who's going to be fitting in at 7 for the Raiders. So that one's really up in the air. Reno and Mam healthy next year will look good. Melbourne Storm, it's obvious. It's Melbourne Storm. It's just a standard of excellence. Lukey Met, Chanel Harris-Savita. I think that'll be another good year for them. The Roosters, depending what they look like here, if Daly Cherry Evans ends up coming here, it could be Cherry Evans in 6, Walker in 7. Tigers, if this is what they run with next year, Luai and Dewey, I like that. It's going to look good. Sharks, obviously, just their standard. They've had that for a while. A little bit more growth out of Jake Clifford, and Tom Dearden just continues to progress as a number 7. They're going to be looking good. Parramatta, this one's one I'm excited for. Mark that on your calendars because they're going to be humming next year, I bet. Obviously, probably looking at Jamal Fogarty and Luke Brooks. It's going to take a little bit of time for them to gel together. So, wouldn't put them too high. Not sure what the halves pairing for the Titans is going to be. Obviously, Kieran Foran's retirement. Could be AJ Brimson. Could be Carter Gordon. We don't know. Dragons. No idea what Dragons are going to look like next year. No idea. This is probably going to be Fletcher Hunt, Dylan Brown. So that's an interesting pairing. And then Little Ashton Ward. I doubt he'll be playing next year. South will probably have Cody and Jamie Humphries next year. So a lot to like. But yeah. I'm gonna get out of this whole setting. We're gonna go back to we're gonna do a bit of an outro and then we're gonna get out of here. How's your intro supposed to sound? Hopefully you guys enjoyed that the halves pairing tier list. We might do one next year. I'm not too sure. Okay. As far as styles of content, I'm trying to go, get into. I want to enter more of the podcast realm. There's a little less workload in it. Okay, there's a little less workload in it. It's a little bit more just consistent. Don't get me wrong. I like filming these sort of sporadic, not sporadic, but like the halves pairing tier list. Not something we do all the time. Did one at the start of the year, doing one at the end of the year. Might be something we do next year. I don't know. Okay, doesn't really matter right now. Thanks for watching. Get you guys to like and subscribe to the video and the channel, whatever. Remember, we're doing a live stream on Saturday night, 4 p.m. is the kickoff. Probably 3:45 is when we'll actually go live, but we're live streaming the finals footy, 2 games of finals footy. So come and watch, just chill, hang out with us. Thanks for everyone over on Spotify who's been listening. We're growing a little community over there. It's not too much, but it's it's a side hustle. And then go check out the socials. We're at 110 followers on Instagram. Pretty measly stuff compared to YouTube, so kind of want to blow that up. But yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a great week. Have a great weekend, and enjoy your finals footy.